Right. I think that's it. No one's here yet, but there we go. Let's try that. Here we are. Hey, Omar. Hey, I'm so sorry about that. Don't know, it's typical. I thought I'm going to go lo-fi tonight. I'm just going to chuck my webcam on, chuck my earphones in, kick it old school. But no. Alas, no. Of course it didn't work. So all that work I did to make a thumbnail and build it up and get everyone excited, as if anyone's excited about this. But anyway, here I am in glorious Fuzzovision. So there's that. Right. So as you guys know, just while I get you guys sort of back in the room, and thank you for bearing with me. I always seem to have some sort of form of technical snafu, but I'm here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to answer the Patreon questions first, because that's what I agreed I would do, and we'll get through those, and then I'll open the floor, and obviously whoever's who wants to ask me something, by all means ask me something. We'll just have a chat. We'll shoot the shite, as 'twere, and we'll have a good old time. And I hope you're all having a good week. I hope things are starting to look more normal for you guys, wherever you are in the world. Obviously, here in the UK, we're kind of getting back there, but not really, but kind of, but not really, but all maybe. So there you go. Right, we had some decent number of questions actually in Patreon, so I'm just going to jump over there and check them out. Just going from top down, and I'll give it my best shot, guys. Some of these I've had some time to think about. Some of them I haven't, but we'll go with that. And I've got the chat open, and I'm just going to squish that so I can see everything that is going on. Okay. The Midnight Woodsman asks, what's the toughest line of dialogue or passage of dialogue you've ever had to remember? I'm going to cheat and say that the whole of Measure for Measure in the lead role as the Duke was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to commit to memory. Measure for Measure, for those of you who don't know, is Shakespeare's third or fourth most wordy play. So it has the third or fourth most number of words in it of any Shakespeare play, and I had the lead role in it, so I had about 40% of the lines in it, which was just bloody difficult. So that I think was the toughest thing to commit to memory. Obviously, it's not a passage of dialogue. I'm trying to think in terms of passages of dialogue. There was a lot on Erica that I just had to cram in my head as I went, and just really learn it on the fly. You get used to it. Soap operas as well are similar. You get your sides on the day, and you just got to learn as you go and get them out. So that sort of thing. I'm not good at learning lines. I'm terrible at learning lines, and anyone who's done a play with me will attest to that. There's always a moment where it clicks, and suddenly I've learned it. And it's weird, but I have to have it on its feet and I spend the first 2 weeks. I probably spend about 80% of the rehearsals with the script in my hand. But then it'll just click. And usually by the tech rehearsal, I'm all right. So I'm a last minute guy, but it always comes together. So there you go. Robin O'Neill asks, have you ever had to turn down any roles because they were too sexy? E.g., your partner weren't comfortable with the prospect of a romance scene with an absolutely banging broad. And he also had a question. Have I turned it down? No, I've never turned down a role like that. I have had to run the odd one past a good lady, Mrs. Casey, out of courtesy more than anything else. But she's a very understanding and lovely person. And I actually had her on set when I had to do a kiss with someone once, and felt kind of bad about that. But then actually, it's like if kissing and sex scenes and stuff like that are the most unsexy things. They're like it's. Honestly, it's so hard to sort of describe to people, but it's kind of like you go in like any other setup on any other day ever. You're in a room with a bunch of blokes, or well, a bunch of people and crew, and it's usually like, I think with sex stuff they'll keep the crew to a minimum, but it's usually just like, right, let's just see the action, and it's always really sort of awkward because you have to like suddenly kiss someone who you've probably been working with for a long time, and or you've just met that day, and it's like, right, let's do a sex thing. But it's not sexy, and it's not there isn't any it doesn't you know it's acting, darling. So it's kind of, we might act like we're very much in love and well into it, we're up for it, but we're not. We're really not. So it's not a romantic thing. On a similar note, have you ever been offered any gay roles? I've done. So I did a gay kiss in a scene for Call the Midwife. I wasn't playing a gay character, but I was playing. The police used to have, what were they called, honey traps. So they would put their, I like to think, most attractive officers in public toilets, because that's where, obviously, when it was illegal, gay people used to solicit for sex in public toilets, and they would do that as a form of entrapment, which is obviously horrible and obviously not something we would sanction to date, but them's were the breaks in those days. And so we did a scene about that, and then I had a scene in the courtroom later on where I was kind of testifying against him. And so that involved a kind of gay scene, a gay kiss and stuff like that. Again, I refer you to my previous answer. It's not sexy or cool or any of that shit. Like, it's just mechanical, and that's it. So yes. So there you go. Omar, my dear Omar, says, hi Duncan, my two questions to you are: what do you think will happen to the Bond franchise if, when Eon is sold to someone, i.e. Amazon, buys both MGM and Eon? Second, what's the first album / single that you bought? Good question. Obviously the recent news is that Amazon is sniffing around MGM. I don't know if they're getting their hands on Eon anytime soon, but obviously the kind of, I mean, I saw someone put something in a Facebook group earlier, was it today? Yesterday, saying about how ITV, it would be a travesty if ITV lost the rights to the Bond franchise. No, it wouldn't. I'd be well up for that. I'm sick of having to, like, every Sunday afternoon just scroll through all the ITV channels in the hope that Moonraker's on again. They've had a stranglehold on the Bond films for a long time, and that's fine, but we're at a point now where there's no reason why a streaming service shouldn't have all the Bond films on it. They do, I believe. I think Amazon has them in the States. So I'm kind of all for it, to be honest. And if that means that we don't have these problems that MGM keep running into with sort of finances and licensing and all that crap, if we can finally put that to bed, then I'm all for it. And I think, I guess Amazon, as part of that, would maybe look to do something with it. And if they did a series or something, fine. As long as we still keep getting our Bond films every so, hopefully a bit more regularly, then I'm down. I think that's really good. The first album or single that I bought, I think I was bought Traveling Without Moving by Jamiroquai. I think that was the first. Or was that the first CD that I would? No, that was the first CD. Oh, so it would have been something like Definitely Maybe, Oasis, or I think that was it. Anyway, it was a long time ago on tape, cassette. So there you go. I think I had a Texas album as well. Text. Sam Duxbury. Hey up, Duncan. I've always wondered about drugs on film. Are there prop companies that specialize in making replica drugs? What is it that actors shove up their noses instead of the real thing, if anything at all? And lastly, is it all just movie magic? It is all just movie magic. There are prop companies that make things like fake cigarettes, or cigarettes you can smoke but don't contain any tobacco. I've done that before. And in terms of drugs, what have I done? Oh, so in Wicked Witches we did fake drugs, and it was things like crushed up smints. Oh no, the smints were the pills. I can't remember what we did for fake cocaine. I don't even know if I knew what it was. It was like something innocuous. You can crush up. I can't remember what it is now. There's like I can't remember what it is, but it's not like baby powder or anything. It's something that there is a thing you can do that, and it's not paracetamol. Right? It's not a drug, but there's lots of things you can do. There's lots of tricks of the trade. So yeah, something like that. It's the so yes, there are, yeah. I mean, usually a prop department for a film will have that in house, but things like cigarettes are the real specialist thing, because they're obviously they're required to be in a packet and look like a real thing, whereas drugs obviously are illicit and therefore can be wrapped up in a small amount of cling film. Stephen Smith says, hello, Doug, there's a few questions for you. Number one, when you are doing night shoots or long days on set, what techniques or tricks do you use to keep yourself pumped up and awake? The usual. Coffee. I tend to, if I have a trailer, I'll take myself off to that and just lay down. I try not to fall asleep, because that's, you get into a cycle of falling asleep, although I have done. Yeah, I try and stay awake as best I can. And just fighting tiredness. There is no other. The frustrating thing is, well, with filmmaking, is that you are needed to be, boom, like perform, and then you can sort of relax for ages. And that's obviously a problem, because you're constantly having to ramp up and ramp down, and it's impossible to keep your energy at a high level, and you wouldn't want to either. So it's about, but you know, when I've done, I think Erica is probably the longest thing I've done night shoots on in succession, and there was one point where it was like 5 days, I think, of night shoots in one row, and then there was 3 days some other time, and that was tough. And I was staying with my aunt and uncle, bless them, in London at the time, and they were having work done in their house. They were having their whole like kitchen floor and everything redone. So of course, as soon as I got home at like 7 a.m. and got into bed, it was about an hour later, a bunch of hairy ass builders would turn up and start hammering and banging. So there was really very little sleeping to be done. But there you go. You just suffer through it, mate. And if you have or ever likely to have children, you will know my pain. Number two, do you like going to the theatre or seeing musicals in London? If so, which ones did you like or not like? Yes, I do like going to the theatre, and I do like seeing musicals. I think we saw The Lion King a while ago, and The Exorcist, which was just brilliant. That was just such a weird thing to go and see, but it's really good. As I say, it had Ian McKellen was the voice of the devil, or the Pazuzu, or whatever he's called. So that was funny. But yeah, I do, and I that hasn't been one I haven't liked. But there you go. 3, I know that you have connections to the Bahamas, but did you ever visit Compass Point Studios before it closed down? Some of my favorite bands have recorded albums there. Thanks. No, but I have been to Compass Point a few times. There's a very nice resort there, but they have a bar that you can go in, and it's really nice to go and have a sundowner at the end of the day. Speaking of which, I'm out of one now. Cheers. But no, Compass Point's lovely, and it's it's out west. Yes, west. Captain Meets Adventures. Duncan, thoughts on the Rover 600 series? You had to say thoughts, didn't you? The large family car range that was produced by the British manufacturer Rover from 1993 to 1999. I'm not driving a mini metro. That's all I'll say. Floyd Diller, which Bond villain had the best idea when it came to world domination? Obviously, none of the plans were 100% flawless. No. But which was more plausible than the others? Also, which female Bond character would you like to have seen in a recurring role in the franchise? Let me answer those from the bottom to the top. Well, obviously, there were female Bond characters that did have recurring roles, such as M and Moneypenny et al. But do you mean, I'm assuming, sort of Bond girl or whatever? I always thought Natalia coming back. Wasn't there a thing that like the Paris Carver character was going to be Carrie Lowell? I think it was supposed to be Carrie Lowell. Like she'd gone off and remarried, so there was a callback to License to Kill, Pam Bouvier, which I thought was a good idea. I really thought that was a really nice. That would have been really nice. I don't mind Terry Hatcher. I mean, she seems to get a lot of flack, but I thought she was really good in that. In Tomorrow Never Dies. So, but yeah, Natalia, I would love to see come back, because I just think Isabella Scorupco's fantastic, and that character really deserved more. So there you go. Obviously, none of the plans were Bond villain thing. Probably Dominic Green. I know that's really boring, and I know he sort of gets flack for, he just wants water. But it's like, that's the most sort of insidious, nasty. Like, they really did a good job, I thought, with sort of making out just how underhanded and conniving and complex Quantum's sort of thing was. And obviously this Disney's about, like MI6 isn't even aware of them. They don't know where they're coming. I always thought they were doing a good job. And obviously they were that was clearly supposed to be setting up a Spectre, which then turned out to be this real kind of wet fart of a afterthought in Spectre. So I think probably Dominic Green, actually probably had the best idea when it came to world domination. Start with a smaller tin pot country, take control of their water supply and build out from there. Take control of infrastructure. I think that's a really nasty, pernicious, especially water, which is the lifeblood of any country. I think that was probably, I would have said that was the best one. I know you probably want me to say Blofeld or whatever, but well, maybe not. Mark Jones, what destinations would you love to visit when travel restrictions lift? I believe, going to be over in America at some point, hopefully towards the end of the year, shooting some stuff with Richard, actually. And we'll be coast to coast. We might be getting to go to Mexico as well, down to Cabo. So I'm not sure about that, but that looks like it might happen. So that's very exciting. So, and I've always wanted to go to Mexico and sort of South America. So that's pretty cool. So there's that. I'd love to see more of Asia. I'd love to see Thailand and places like that, and Australia. I think I'd love to get down under, because I feel a sort of kinship and connection with Australia in a weird way, which I have I think I do have family there, but I no sort of lineage connections there. But I'd like to see Oz. I love the Australian people, the ones I've met and gotten to know, and so I'd love to do that. And maybe New Zealand as well. Did you know about Val Verde Broadcasting becoming the Jeff Capes Appreciation Society since Frank and Richard's stream? No, and I don't even know who that is. So I'm sure it was some hilarious, silly in-joke that I'm totally not a party to. But good for them. I don't know. Petter Danielson, bit late, but as things are soonish getting back to normal, any fun plans, or have you thought about what's in store for the Val Verde channel? Well, obviously Jeff Capes Appreciation Society, but more than that. We were discussing this yesterday, I think, about what to do, because we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I mean, it turns out that doing live streams really wrecks your channel's growth. We spoke to a bunch of people who have had exponential growth over the last year, and they said it's live streams. They said as soon as we stopped doing live streams, everything started up again for us, and our videos started getting traction. So it's something to do with the way the algorithm counts views, and I think it just sees live streams as cheating. It doesn't count them. So I mean, can they count towards your channel's overall count, but it doesn't sort of push you or push your videos out there. It doesn't suggest live streams to people. So that's been a problem for us. But on the flip side, we're very happy with what we do for you guys, with the community we have. And, we're not sure. We're not sure what to do. I think partly because we're just not clear on what we want the channel to do for us, or what we want the channel to be, because we're sort of emerging into a space now that wasn't there when we started it up. And actually, we're not career YouTubers. We don't really see that as our calling in life. It's not something we love. We love interacting with you all, and we have a great time with it, and we have a great time with each other, and we have fun. And we're moving on to making films. We've made a short film together that's that's coming together nicely, and we're doing other stuff. And I just think that I think we need to evolve the channel into being a bit more of that. I mean, we did talk about, if we're going to be off on travels shooting things, that we might do vlogs about that and that kind of thing. But it's not clear at the moment. So we are open to suggestions, but it's going to evolve. Something's going to change. We want to keep it, but we're very mindful of obviously keeping you guys happy and keeping you entertained and all that stuff. So yes, watch this space. It's not going away, but there are going to be changes. So we'll see. I just don't know at the moment. But there we go. Robin O'Neill, who's your favorite Blue Peter presenter? I don't know. Andy Peters. Did Andy Peters do Blue Peter? I think he did. Let's go with Andy Peters. Who doesn't love Andy Peters? And he's now he's just sort of hawking free BMWs Good Morning. No, what is it? ITV Morning TV. Anyway. Ash GCG says, is there a character in a book not yet put the film that you have your eye on playing? In a book? I'm trying to think. I think, I mean, I think I've spoken about this before, but I still have my eyes kind of on doing a biopic of Keith Floyd, which is weird, and I think people think I'm weird for that, as in, like, why do you care about the TV chef? He was a fascinating dude, and he was lovable and loathable in equal measure, and I think just a fascinating person to sort of to put his life story on film, because he's the godfather of what we consider, certainly in the UK, to be normal TV chef stuff. I mean, like Gary Rhodes and Rick Stein. I mean, all of Rick Stein's stuff is just basically retreading Keith Floyd. I mean, he even has the same director producer. They do it, and they just do the same thing. They go around the same places, do the same thing, and very good at it is too. But I mean, that's Keith Floyd started it all, and so I think there's a really great story to tell there. So he's not a character in a book, so apologies for the cheat on that one. But and I don't think I would play him. I don't think I certainly don't look like him, and I don't think I would play him. But that's really the story I want to tell, I think, which is weird, and I don't know if it will happen. But I keep my eyes open, and I reached out to his daughter recently via LinkedIn, funnily enough, but no response. So we'll see. Ash also asked, foolishly disconnected from my original question, in a world of, I think, remakes, reboots, sequels, prequels, and reimaginings of pre-existing IP, has there been a story, previewed script, or a book, a short story, etc., not yet put to celluloid that you'd love to see projected to screen? I love horror films, so there's a very few I actually like. Brian Lumley's Necroscope series of books are my see before I die dream. I guess that ties into that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think, because there are books I've read in the past and gone, why isn't that? Tell you what, there's a lot of what's his name? Oh, it's just gonna bug me now. Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Who wrote that? They'll come back to me. Anyway, he wrote also some really great stories, really great books, novels. And I read, what was it, Signor Vivo and the Coca Lord? That was really good. That was really brutal, but hilarious as well. Really, really bizarre. But really good. And there's a lot more of his. I think there's not been enough plumbing of his depths, I think. So yeah, definitely. That dude whose name I can't remember because I'm completely knackered. He's got a French name, I think. Anyway, but yeah, there's loads of really cool stories. There was also Peter Benchley wrote other. Louis de Bernier, thank you, Callum. Louis de Bernier. Or was it Bernieres? Him. He's brilliant. He's a fantastic writer, and Captain Corelli's Mandolin is very good. And the film isn't bad either, but there's some much more hard-edged novels of his that I think could work really well. So him. And I have one more question who is not asked. Where is it? Tom, whose Patreon account he got locked out of, Tom Cochran. So I said, or Corchain? I would have said Cochran. No. That guy. He said, sorry, I'm really sniffly today. He said, thank you, Duncan. If you could go back in time and play a role from any movie and perhaps put your own spin on it, what would it be? I don't tend to entertain such notions, only because I sort of don't. It can be quite foolhardy to pin your hopes on that kind of stuff. But I don't. But I'd love a crack at something like Indiana Jones or something like that. It won't happen. But that was a cool thing. I do and I don't, because I actually wouldn't want to see anyone else other than Harrison Ford do it. So there you go. But yeah, something like that I think would be really fun to do. I don't know. I don't know. I try not to think of stuff like that, because it's kind of you can drive yourself a bit nuts, I think, and you sort of end up comparing yourself to an ideal that is gone. You need to be doing your thing. So I would love for a role such as that to come up, and for me to nail it, and for it to be my kind of calling card. I think would be really cool. So there you go. Right, well, that was all the Patreon questions, which has neatly gotten us to 8:30. So fantastic. Thank you, Patreon. The floor is therefore yours, everyone, in the live chat. So let's have Anne Butchers and see what is what. Steve Allen says, "Hey, Duncan, I need to ask, have you ever seen Peter Serafinowicz as an inspiration? What were your Michael Caine impressions?" Not necessarily an inspiration, though. I do like Peter Serafinowicz. I think he's great. I think he's a great comedic actor, and that's not an easy thing to be. So, Niels, I'm a big fan of his. Zachary Antle sends $5 reviews. Thank you very much, Zachary, and says, "Hi again, Duncan. Hope all's well with you. Good news. Got my second Covag jab. I hope I didn't say that on the vial, Zachary. But COVID jab, I'm assuming you mean today. What are your thoughts on a Felix Leiter spin-off TV show or film?" Very good. Well done. I'm getting my first jab next Wednesday. So looking forward to that. A Felix Leiter spin-off TV show. I mean, that'll just be an CIA guy. Hey, if they make it good, it's good. Cool, I guess. All good. I mean, I'm excited to see, what you could do with a serialized story because the Bond films are serialized, but if it serialized, it's serialized, but you know what I mean? Like if you did sort of episodic stuff, I think it would have to have a giant budget. It would need high-end treatment, but I think, I think that would be cool. Why not? Worms T17 says, when your daughter is old enough, which bit of the Alan Partridge back catalogue would you want to show her first, or would you rather have her discover it herself? Probably have her discover it herself. I don't think I wouldn't push anything on her, because there's no point in pushing comedy on people, because certainly my instant reaction to that is to not find it funny. So to sort of fight it. So I wouldn't push on her, maybe show it to her, but that's it. Benny Legend, Duncan, are you looking forward to Dune, and would you like to work with Denis Villeneuve? I don't know. I've not seen the original Dune. It's not something that particularly tickles me pickle, but if it's good, it's good, and I'm all for good films. So let's see. I'd probably see it. I'm dying to get back to the cinema and start seeing films again. So would love to see it. I saw a bit of a trailer somewhere, just popped up on my Facebook or something, and it looked really visually arresting. So pretty cool. Would I like to work with him? Yes, because I'd like to work. So and if someone of his caliber would have me in a film, then I'm there. SW Studio Production says, question, what inspired you to become an actor? Just doing it, like school plays. I did school plays. Yeah, so when I was at primary school, which I don't know, to American people, what's that? That's like up to the age of 11, basically. I think we did Oliver. Was it Oliver? I think we did that, and I just got so into it, and I got into the film and the thing, and I knew it backwards. I knew all of the lines, and I was just an urchin in that production at school, and I had no dialogue, and I was so annoyed because I'd be there, like I'd be mouthing all the words, I think, on stage, which is a terrible thing to do. And I was well into it, and so I remember doing that. And then I think the next year it was Robin Hood, and I got to play Robin Hood. I got the lead role in that, which was really cool. So and that just gave me the bug, I think, really, just doing plays at school. So, and I did the Nativity when I was like 4 or something. I do remember sort of panic stricken on stage in front of the parents, and I don't think I had any lines or anything. I was just like a rabbit in headlights. But yeah, I was doing plays at school. But for some reason, I think because I consumed a lot of film, it kind of, that really intrigued me, and it's a very hard thing to sort of do in an amateur way and to sort of try out. So I started doing acting for film courses, and then enjoyed it very much, and there you go. What else? James Harris, Duncan, what kind of music do you like to listen to whilst driving outside of the radio? I listen to a lot of live bands. I used to play in a band, so I'm big into my musicians. I love musicians. So there are a few that I really got into. This guy Monty Montgomery a little while ago, who I've kind of been picking up tracks and albums from, and just kind of put them on my phone and my car. I can stream music through the car, so I set up playlists and stuff, and but I haven't had any long journeys. I've not had any long journeys for like nearly 2 years, so I haven't really been listening to that much in the car, to be honest. I listen to podcasts and I listen to the radio, but yeah, I really haven't had much time in the car. I mean, I bought this car in January thinking I was going to be off doing a job in Bath that now has been, which is, for those of you who don't know, about 3.5 hours away from where I live. So that would have been the time, but that's not looking like it's happening till the autumn now. So yeah, so not a lot in answer to your question, but if I do, it's usually bands, live bands and stuff. I love live bands. Oh, sorry, the chat just jumped. I'm gonna sorry. Oh, chat keeps jumping. I'm trying to get my way back to where all right. Sorry. Steve Allen asks how Winston is. Yeah, he's all right. He's fine. Is he handling the little one all right? Yeah, he's very good with her generally, although he started snapping at her a bit when she goes for his toys, which we're trying to sort of beat out of him now. We're trying to dissuade him from, because obviously we don't want him biting her. I don't think he would bite her, but he just gets a bit growly and not happy. And but he's very good. He just comes and sits with her a lot, and he's very tolerant. Like, she grabs his ears and yanks on them, and he just takes it. So he's brilliant. Thank you. Jason Badass asked, Duncan, what do you think of AT&T selling Warner to Discovery? I don't know. How would you feel about Amazon purchasing MGM? I kind of covered that earlier. So there you go. Worms 217, what actor you seen made you think, what the hell are they doing? I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, I've seen bad performances, but I would never name names, because I think that's right. Rob Myers just says a comment about baby Duncan hamming it up on stage. Yeah, definitely that happened. I wasn't baby, I was like 10, I think, something. Zachary, what filmmakers inspire your work? Hereditary by Ari Aster is my favorite movie, I think. Filmmakers that inspire my work. I don't really, I don't know. I don't know if it's filmmakers. I mean, I don't know. No, probably none. Because my work isn't, I mean, I suppose I am a filmmaker, but I'm not I'm not behind the camera. So, There's lots of filmmakers I would like to work with who I think are inspiring, but they're not. They don't inspire me necessarily. Ricky Spanish, Duncan, would you take a role if it required you to gain weight for it? Would you be able to lose it quickly afterwards? I'd have to think about it. I think it would have to be a. It depends what type of weight you're talking. I'm assuming you mean get fat or fatter. Yeah, it depends. It depends if it's a story I wanted to tell, and I thought it was worth putting myself through that. Losing it afterwards would be a bitch, because like you can get it's pushing your body outside of a thing that it's not done before is really difficult. Whether it's getting thinner or getting fatter or getting muscly, it's like my body. I can be a fat version of me, and I have been to see December the 26th most years, but losing it, you sort of stay within this sort of parameter usually that your body sort of can go between, but pushing it outside of that can be very difficult and dangerous too. I mean, I think Stallone said that about Copland. Like, he had to just eat and eat and eat and just not exercise and just take a bite out of everything in order to stack on the pounds, because his body would resist it because it wasn't used to it and didn't want to do it. So it's a real undertaking, and I don't know. I don't know is the answer. Maybe, yeah. But right. Keeping going. Question for Duncan. Stephen Allen. How extensive has your audio work been? And if you're doing audio, would you do a Paul McGann and not bother reading the script until the day of the recording? And quite a lot of places don't give you the script till the day of the recording, and in some ways there's no point, because it's not like you really need to remember it. Although it's good, obviously, to go over and get a sense for it. How extensive is it? It's slapdash at best. I mean, I've done it sort of regularly since I started acting, really, but not as regularly as I would like. And I really need to. In fact, Mike Geary, who's in our short film with me, he's a wonderful actor, has a wonderful voice. Has really encouraged me to put a voice reel together. Again, I've been terrible for that, but he has an in for me with a voiceover agent, so I really need to get on that. And I just did a voiceover for a watch company called Squale. That was through TGV of the Urban Gentry channel, and that is on their website now. It's for a special edition watch that's sold out, I think, in 48 hours of them launching it, which is really exciting. So we are potentially going to do more with that. So watch this space. But yes, I really need to put all that on a reel and get it over to and do some stuff for a reel, and then get it together and get it over. I really struggle with time at the moment, but I need to make time if it's that important to me, and I will. So there you go. Randall Windle official. Did you encounter Carl Pilkington during your work on Life's Too Short? How much of his persona is genuine in your estimation? No, I didn't. He wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I mean, I don't really watch much of that stuff, the Idiot Abroad stuff. I didn't really get into it, but so I don't know. I don't know. He probably is, even though he seems not. He probably is quite genuine. James Harris, Duncan, you mentioned you and Richard are planning to cross the pond. Do you know when the UK can start letting you and others travel over? No. I don't know what the US is, because we have now a traffic light system, and there's only a handful, I think, who are in the green at the moment. I think a lot of it is down to the US's border policy, which I think is quite stringent at the moment. So, yes, don't know, but I would like to get over there soon, because we have things to do. So there you go. Chewbacca's neighbor. Since you love doing a lot of voices, would you like to do motion capture? I don't know. I mean, that to me is sort of. I mean, it's acting, isn't it? Without. I don't know. I mean, I think I nearly did some once. I don't know, to be honest. I'd give it a go. Like, if someone gave me a job where that was required, yeah, let's do it. Be kind of interesting. Oh, Wing Exchange gave us a $5. Says, here's a $5 of Baby Casey. Thank you. What's Richard like as a director? Also, thanks for answering my Patreon question. Thank you for asking it, and for being a patron, and for giving me a super chat. Me, it's all mine. What's Richard like as a director? Yeah, great. I mean, it's funny, like, because I sort of had this with my mate Martin as well. When you work on a really low budget set, and you know, it's your mates and it's your people who've come in to help out, it's very different to working with them on something with huge budget and with crew who you don't know, and there's more of an air of professionalism. Not to say that Richard's not professional, because he is. But you're just whipping around grabbing things, and because you're mates, you've got a shorthand for the way you're doing. Yeah, grab that, and there's no airs and graces. So I like that. I like working with people in that way. And my friend Martin, who was on the channel, who did Wicked Witches, and we did a Patreon watch party for Wicked Witches with, he and I worked the same way. But I did a music video with him. God, a year or two ago now, and for an artist called James TW. Is that what it's called? I didn't know who he was. Lovely bloke. Didn't know who he was. But the music video's got millions of views. So very cool. But yeah, we did a music video for him, and it was a full-on. There was actually a lot of the crew from Erica were on it, which was a really nice. It was a total coincidence. It was really, really, really lovely. But it was a really big shoot. It had a big budget, and it had a production office, and it had crew, and it was the first time I'd sort of seen Martin working with a huge thing as a director like that. And I had to kind of get out of my usual way of working with him, which was just slapping things together and being silly and doing whatever. And that was kind of interesting, but it was really cool because it was really nice seeing him with a big budget and crew at his disposal. And it's a great looking music video, so go check it out. If I could remember the name of the song, I know I'd be onto a winner, but it's James TW. I can't remember what happens in it. Except I'm in it. It's like a wedding thing. Yeah. What else? Mark Flanagan gives us $5 dues. And thank you very much. He says, how do you and Richard differ in your film taste? He seems quite open to a lot of low-end fare, which you don't seem to like. It's not that I don't like low-end fare. I'm usually in it. So it's kind of a bit of a busman's holiday to sit down and watch. But I do, and I enjoy it. It's more, there is, as I think he said, there's a Venn diagram, and, we tend to, there's a lot more actually in the middle that we do both love, but the outer bits, for him, it's like Star Trek, and for me, it's James Bond, I guess. So there's that. I think I tend to gravitate towards more, I don't know. He does like grotty stuff. If that's, that's what I'll call it. And it's not that I don't. I just sort of, I don't know. I don't have a lot of time to watch films, sadly, at the moment. So it's very, I don't know. We do agree probably on more than we disagree on, but that we disagree on, we sort of vehemently disagree on. And there's lots about us, our personalities in life, that's the same. But what we're passionate about, and I don't know, I think we both give each other room to like what we like and dislike what we dislike, and I don't think we don't judge each other. I think which is well, at least I don't. He might hate me. I don't know. It's a marriage of convenience. No, I don't know. I suppose because I just don't have. I'm not inclined to sit down and watch grot, though I have to say my wife seems to find a fair share of it on Netflix and stuff. So, yeah. In fact, I can't remember who watched. There was something. I mean, you tune out because you very quickly see that it is just shite. But we started watching something and sat through the whole thing, and I really don't know why. And it was bollocks. But anyway, there you go. Stephen Allen, genuine question for you, Duncan. Do you ever find yourself picking up accents whenever you are on a shoot or whenever you're away from home, like you might actually sound like Pat Mustard. And I do. Yeah. I used to. I had a very good mate called Franco, who's from Australia actually, and he and I did acting classes together and stuff, and we used to hang out a lot. And I would come away not realizing it and speak to someone else, and they thought I was Australian because I was just picking up and speaking like him. And I think some people find that offensive. I never really understood that because for me, it's like when I meet someone with a strong accent, I kind of want to do it back to them, which I know people find really. They think you're taking the piss, I guess, but you're not. You're having a laugh, and I wouldn't mind, because American people do it to me a lot, which is sort of they don't do it very well. Sorry, America, you really struggle with a British accent. Some of you are brilliant. I mean, I guess it's just like us with your accent. Yeah, so I kind of get it, but I guess your average person who works in an office or whatever isn't used to someone turning around to them and, be like, all right, mate, how are you fucking prick? But it's meant with love, like, and so, yeah, I do. It's like osmosis. I hope I wouldn't sound like Pat Mustard. But there you go. Having to yank myself off around the clock because I haven't had any proper sex with girls. I can't really do. I haven't watched Father Ted and Yonks, and I really should because I know it backwards though. That's the problem. Mark Flanagan sent us $2 and says, "Can you define grot?" I thought you said Groot. I thought you said Groot then for a minute. I was like, what? The popular character from Guardians of the Galaxy. Can I define grot? I mean grot as in like sort of low budget grotty films, like not just like, I don't know, not just sort of a low budget tale about a backwater town in the Mississippi. I mean like Chainsaws Up the Bum 3, or like Bum Cop 12 or whatever, like I don't know, like he finds them sort of ironically funny. I think. I mean, what's the one, Cyber Tracker something or whatever, and it was just like, what is this shite? And it's like, how do you? It's one thing to sort of find it funny. It's things that The Room and Samurai Cop and all that. It's one thing to sort of find those scenes funny out of context and just ha ha ha, but to devote hours of your time to just sit there and seriously watch it, no. I ain't got time for that shit, man. So that I guess is what I mean by grot. It's a loosely defined term. Zachary sends us $5 again. Thank you, Zachary. Says, do you think there will be an era where good video game movies become a trend, like how comic book movies have dominated for the last decade? I think, like we've said before on the channel, there is, and it's Richard's analogy of the pig being slaughtered, turned into sausages, reformed into a pig, and then people wondering why it doesn't oink anymore. Which I think is brilliant. There's an inherent problem in that you I think that the difference with, because on the face of it, yes, I suppose you could say that comic book movies are inherently a medium that is inspired by cinematic stuff. So in other words, it's like a storyboard, and then but then that in the sort of chain of production makes sense because you tend to go from a storyboard to a film, right? So you're kind of doing that. You're taking a very cinematic thing and turning it into cinema. The difference with computer games is, one, they tend to be cinematically inspired, but in a very different medium. So, and then the other thing is the protagonist, because the idea is really it's a cipher for you, which I know you have in film, but it's like the structure of a game is much more around steering you down a path or allowing you to discover things in your own time through a series of events, but it's very different. Whereas I think when you try and then force that into a narrative structure of a film, it just never works. And it's a medium that's sort of like you're taking something that was inspired by film and translating it back. It's the thing of what does Richard do? What's it called? Lost in Translation, where it's like you take a description of a film and pass it through Google Translate about 5 times into a million different languages, and that's what you get out at the end, is this sort of weird gobbledygook that you can kind of see you can kind of identify, but it's just unedifying. And I think that's the inherent problem. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but I just think that is a very difficult nut to crack. So anyway, I don't know if that's an answer to your question, but I just think it's an inherently broken idea, I think. David James, did Franco play your boss in Kenneth? He did. Well observed. So there you are. If you want to know what Franco looks like, go watch Kenneth. Kenneth is, I think, still on. It's on Amazon Prime, but I think it's on YouTube as well, so you can watch it for free. After I just got done telling you about how I don't have time to watch such things. Chewbacca's neighbour. Your Irish accent is absolutely on par in Wicked Witches. Thank you. And I'm from Ireland. I'm terribly sorry. You sound more like an Irish person. Ha ha ha. Shite. Shite. Thank you. That was a really bad decision on my part, I think, because basically Martin, who directed that, is Scottish, and his brother also is Scottish. And Mark, the character that I played, is sort of loosely based on Mark, who was Martin's brother. And he was like, I thought maybe, I should do like a Scottish accent. What do you reckon? Like, and I was like, I don't know that I can turn up to work every day and just essentially take, again, is what I was talking about earlier, sort of feel like I'm taking the piss out of you. I mean, I do it anyway. I do it normally, but I don't know that I just sort of thought, I don't know. And then that just became, well, let's do an accent, right? Irish, sort of Dublin Irish accent. And that was great for the first few days. And then when I had to come back like a week later, because we filmed that in bits, like over the weekends and stuff. And when I was coming back for other days and stuff, I was like, what the like a year later when I was still trying to come back and like remember what I was doing. That was a rod for my own back. So thank you for your kind endorsement of my Irish accent in that. And, also the sort of authenticity of it, because I really didn't feel like I nailed that. So thank you. Gonna keep going. Zachary Ansel says, I would say the ultimate actor's challenge is a South African accent. Yeah, sort of a convincing one, because mine would tend to be quite I don't know what's the word, stereotypical, I suppose. So I don't know. You have to sort of become quite authoritative in whatever it is you did. Say, no, don't you talk to me like that, my friend. I sort of you have to go quite gruff, I think. See, that's quite a stereotypical kind of Joss Ackland in Lethal Weapon 2 kind of, So but there are more authentic. There's a guy. No one will care about this, but there's a guy who I think runs a channel about 4x4s or something, but he did a thing about his watch. He has a Rolex so he does this like story about his watch and stuff and growing up and blah, blah, blah. And he has a great South African accent. And I was kind of like, that's the kind of, if anyone ever cast me as a South African guy and the accent would be suitable, I'd like to just listen to that and try and nail that guy's voice, because it was really good. So, yeah. Benjamin, question: what scripts have you worked on or read, Duncan, that you've been truly blown away by? More generally, what makes a good script? Thanks. There's a few. There's definitely a few. In fact, the Kenneth one was really. I remember reading that and going, I get this. This feels like it's been worked on. It feels like it's been sweated over, because I think they had submitted it to a bunch of places to get funding, I think, and I don't know that they were successful actually, but they had. It was really good, and it won. I mean, actually, yes, that's right. So they had submitted it to BFI and a few other places to try and get funding, like to make the film, and it had been rejected. And then it wound up winning an award for best screenplay at Edinburgh. So and it's just like, well, you got, but there we are. That is what it is. But that was a really great screenplay, and I wish that we'd had the budget to sort of give it its due, because I think some of the jokes didn't quite, or some of the payoffs didn't quite land, only because we hadn't the budget to sort of cover them in the right way. So that was a really great script. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I've read things. There's one actually, is a script that I read recently for. I don't know if I'm allowed to say what it is or what it isn't. It's not me I'm not being that guy who's like, just signed a big deal. Can't tell you what it is yet. I hate those people that trust me. That is such a dickhead thing. So I'm not doing that, but there is a thing that I've been asked to do, which is very cool and very exciting, and I'm well up for it. So so that's cool. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's a really cool thing. So I read that. It's an anthology series. I'll put it that way, and I thought that was really cool. So that's something that I've read recently that I'm really up for. And this thing I'm doing as well, actually, that is like like Erica, that I'm doing with Mark Price. That is Mark's scripts are, again, ones you read and kind of it's very Mark, and it's really cool. And you kind of get his humor. He's really good at putting his humor on screen. He thinks cinematically, which is really cool. So yeah, excited about that. So yeah, there are scripts. There's definitely, I mean, what makes a good script really is something that's written that's got a clear sense of personality and isn't just A to B stuff. Because I've read and been in things that are very just procedural and there's nothing, we're not saying anything about anyone in it, and like that sort of thing. And I've done stuff where the script is great and all that's there, and then the final film, for whatever reason, that's not borne out, and it's really frustrating. But it is just anything can happen, so there you go. James Harris, Duncan, have you ever accepted a role that you're originally excited about, but once you got to the set you started to have a change of mind? Yeah. yeah, plenty of times, mate, plenty of times, but we'll leave it at that. Any more? We're going to wrap up soonish, but we'll give it another 10 or so. I hope I haven't upset anyone from South Africa or Ireland. Benny Legend, Doug, do you have any particular favourite foods? I think I said this before, but I have a thing about making paella. It's one of my favourite things to make. I don't know if it's my favourite food particularly, but I love making it for some reason. So it's a very satisfying thing to make. So I have, whenever I have the house to myself, which I never do anymore, of an evening, I used to make it. What was it? Paella, Pinot, and Predator. So I put Predator on, eat paella, and drink Pinot. It's weird. I don't know why it has to be alliterate, but there you go. But I just like good food. I think my wife bought me a pizza oven for my birthday, so my dad bought me a paddle, which has a weird name. What's the weird name? Oh, I can't remember now. Anyway, he bought me one of those, which is really cool. So I have all this stuff to make proper pizza ovens, pizzas. So in fact, we're having some people over on Saturday, which will be nice because it's legal for once. And we're going to make some pizzas. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But no, I find food fascinating, and I love cooking, and I think I love a steak. In fact, I've got some steak. Friday night is steak night in our house, so I've got some. I love going to the butcher and getting him to carve me off some decent steaks. I went to Waitrose. I do some incredible steak that I went to, but there's a local butcher as well that just does the most amazing sirloin. And I went in Waitrose once. I spent a lot of money on 2 steaks, but they were so good. So I love a good steak. James again. Oh no, it jumped. Were you a fan of Scott Adkins before you worked with him, and do you like any of the other flicks he's been in? I do. I think he's great. Was I a fan? I wouldn't say I was a fan before I worked with him, but in working with him, I found him to be one of the nicest guys ever, and just really like warm spirited. And even though he was knackered, and it was the last day I think of shooting, and it was a night shoot, and he was ill because I think he'd gotten ill during the shoot, which is not uncommon. He was such a stand-up dude and a lovely bloke, and if he was stressy or unhappy, he never let it show. And he was so nice to me. He came over and he complimented me on the audition tape I'd done, because it was his baby. Accident Man was very much his thing. So he was producing it, and well, he was, very, from the ground up, he was involved in it, and just the nicest dude. So yeah, he made a thing recently that my friend Ben produced as well for him, that looks really cool. So he's a solid dude, and I'm a big fan of him, and I would love to work with him again sometime in something a bit more chunky. But then I guess I don't know what, it's hard to cast me in something with him, I think, just because our types, it's weird because our types are completely different and yet similar in terms of storytelling function. I don't know what I would be in with him, because he's always the good looking hero what is good at karate or whatever, he's insanely good at that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he could kick my ass. That'd be fun. Well, he killed me, didn't he, in Excellent Man? So I guess yeah, he could kick my ass. That'd be a lot. Get my ass kicked by Scott. The John Smith yet again says, would I ever play Hamlet? Probably. Well, I probably could. I'm probably still youthful enough-ish. I think if you squint, I maybe look like I'm in my 20s, maybe, but I'm not at all. Haven't been for a while. But yeah, I mean, yeah. God, if someone offered me the opportunity, I think I would do it. I did that with Measure for Measure. I mean, I was really nervous about doing Shakespeare because I just really didn't feel like I had the chops. But they, really wanted me to do it, so I did it, and I had a great time. And I do love Shakespeare. I don't feel like I'm that actor necessarily, but I would love it. I'm sure. Chris Trigena, Duncan just watched last Tremors film. It's a film series that not many channels cover, and if they do, it's brief. What's your opinion on them? I've not seen many of them. My friend Jimmy is well into them because he thinks they're hilarious. I've seen the first one, and I saw one where it was like the Old West. I'm not sure which one that is. They're fine. They're funny. I mean, they're sort of in that. They're the proto Sharknado, really, in a lot of ways, aren't they? So yeah, all good, man. All good. I think they're hilarious. So, Mr. HEC says that you wouldn't believe Duncan was 43 years old. I didn't know, but I am 6 years away from being that old. So there you go. Jozilla sent $5. Thank you. It says, on the sad note of Charles Grodin passing, are there any other big actors whose passing particularly affected you? I don't really get affected. I suppose I have to tread lightly here. I get a bit whiffy with people who sort of act like they lost a. It comes across when people sort of eulogize actors on social media on the day of their passing and then clearly forget about them seconds later, as quite disingenuous, but they act like they've just lost the family dog or something, and it's just like, look, I don't know them personally. Obviously the ones that I mean, Charles Grodin was in his 80s, I mean, he'd had good innings and good on him, and same with Sean Connery and Roger Moore and people like that, they're gonna go, it's a shame, but they're gonna go. So, and I don't know them. I wish they could carry on doing their work forever, but I wish, people like Gene Hackman, I wish had carried on doing more, but then look at his oeuvre is amazing. Why would you mess with that? And I'm sure, he's not dead yet, but I mean, in terms of his work is over, and we'll get to experience it forever. So it's things I know. Robin Williams was the big thing, and everyone was like, oh, and it's kind of like, that was awful. That was really awful, and I wish that hadn't happened because he was such a great. I loved watching him and everything, but I didn't know him, So I remember someone tearing a strip off me for copying that attitude and saying, "You're an actor," and I was like, right, but when Steve Jobs died, Jeff from IT wasn't in mourning for like that. Was just because you share a profession with someone, I just find that whole thing really icky, to be honest. So no, I was really saddened, actually. I mean, I will say this: I was saddened by Jeff Bridges having, was it Hodgkin's lymphoma or whatever he's got going on. That was a bit of a, bit of a gut punch. In terms of, it seems very soon. for him to have that, and I hope he pulls through, because I love Jeff Bridges. He's one of my favorite actors. So, but again, these are people's private lives, really, and when they end, that's one of the most personal things that happens. And I don't really feel. I mean, I feel quite strongly about people having their privacy and being private individuals as well. Right, a couple more, and then we'll knock it on the head. Steve Allen, how hard is it to get the rhythm of Shakespeare down? Because, man, is it hard to get into if you don't hear the flow of the performance. Yeah, my attitude with it was that people should be able to understand what's going on even if they don't understand the language. I really put an emphasis on that when I did it, because I was like, I know what it's like to get lost and then not be able to get it back. A lot of people like to pretend that they, because a lot of people, I mean, I guess if you're a Shakespeare guy, in a big way, you go into the plays knowing the plays anyway. But for an audience who didn't know it, I wanted them to get something out of it as well. So it's got to be, and the best Shakespeare plays I've seen were that. When I go, I don't know, I'm not sure what, but then you would pick it up from the performance. So I wanted it to be like that. So how hard is it? You have to, as a performer, you have to understand it all. You have to understand, and luckily, I have a degree in English literature, so textual analysis was at the heart of what I do. So that helps, because it helps me understand the intention behind everything that's in there, which means I can, I know kind of what I want to do with it. But it is hard. Like, it is really hard. No two ways about. Keep going. I remember the day. No, that's someone's. Blow your nose, says King. I don't have anything to do that with. So apologies about that. But there we go. Niall Breen, did you enjoy your experience on EastEnders? Yes, very much. Both times. 3 times. I've been 3 times on EastEnders. And I had a great time. They are, in fact, every soap I've worked on has been really good fun. And considering that those crew and cast go to work pretty much every day, especially the core ones, doing the same thing day in, day out, and would probably have every reason to cock a snook and be generally aloof. They aren't. They're the most welcoming bunch. But on EastEnders, Emmerdale, Holby, just the nicest people to spend time with. And the last time I did Holby a few times, and the last time I did it, I was lying in a hospital bed for most of it, in a coma, which is just acting, darling, with Hugh Quashie leering over me and stuff like that. And he's hilarious and fun and full of stories, and told me all about what happened with episode 2 and why I didn't do it. And I just really good. And I love being on those, because actually they are, and the way of working on them is really fun as well. It's like multicam, and it's having ideas and setting things up and shooting them and then getting them done and moving on. And so yes, I really enjoyed EastEnders, and would go back if I could. Stephen Allen, you've got a shirt, Duncan. I don't know what you mean. But fair enough. Right. Will we take one more? We will take one more. Someone chuck me a question, because I don't. Do one more, and then we're out. Anyone? Someone must have a question. No one got a question? Come on. Perfume of the day, Duncan. I'm actually wearing. What am I wearing? I think I took my daughter swimming earlier, so I had to chuck something like that. I'm wearing Eau de Mineral by Tom Ford. So there you go. I have a lot of Tom Ford. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. My wife keeps rolling her eyes at me. But what can I say? That smell good. So there you go. Adrian Mendoza, how did you become an actor? I decided to and did. And then the actual becoming a professional one was the hard bit and a long story. So we'll say that for another time. And Steve Allen, did you ever read anything about production? What? Do you ever read anything about production time and get taken back to the short span of time? Don't know what that means. Don't know what that means, sorry. Do you ever read anything about production? Don't know. Have I seen the light yet and bought a PC? No. And I have no intention of doing that because every PC I've owned has just gone to crap after about a year. And so, I've owned 2 Macs now, and one lasted nearly 10 years and was still fine. I still have it. In fact, it still works fine. So, sorry, economies of scale. Right. I think that's it. People are asking silly questions now, so I think that's time for me to say good night. Thank you all so much for coming along and listening to me babble on. I am sorry that it's not the two of us tonight, but Richard had work today, and so this was just really kind of too much for him to take on as well. So I understand that. I hope this was a good way to while away an hour. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys soon. Be lucky, be well, and I guess we'll see you next week. I'm not sure what we'll do next week, but Patreon will know first, of course, because Patreon will get to vote on it. So thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Much love to you. Thank you so much for your continued support and love for this channel, and we'll catch you on the flip side, y'all. Take care. Bye.